The courtroom felt unnaturally silent, the heavy air almost clinging to every breath. Its high marble walls, worn by decades of battles fought and lost, now seemed to trap the tension that simmered just beneath the surface. Into that tense hush walked Camille Rhodess, a black woman clad in a flawlessly tailored navy suit, briefcase in hand, her every step resonating with an authority she had earned 1,000 times over. She carried the poise of someone who knew her place in this arena, who had bled for it, fought for it, and now commanded it. Yet prejudice moves faster than truth. A police officer posted at the security checkpoint, Sergeant Derek Whitman, locked eyes on her. In an instant, his face hardened into a sneer. Without hesitation, without even a flicker of doubt, he stepped into her path. Camille calmly presented her FBI badge, a gleaming shield of validation. Whitman barely glanced at it before snatching it from her hand with a force that startled even the clerks and attorneys passing by. His voice, loud and dripping with contempt, cut through the murmur of the courtroom lobby. "This is fake. Where'd you steal it?" Before she could answer, he grabbed her wrist, yanked it behind her back, and forced her against the wooden railing with a thud that echoed across the marble floors. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but no one moved. No one stopped him. The polished steel of the handcuffs snapped shut around her wrists, biting into her skin. As her briefcase tumbled to the floor, the very briefcase carrying the evidence that would soon shatter the illusion of righteousness in that very building. Camille's cheek pressed into the cool wood, her jaw clenched, her fury a living thing. Not fear, not shame, fury. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," she whispered under her breath. Whitman scoffed, oblivious. What he couldn't know, was that in less than 7 minutes, the fortress he believed himself protected by would collapse under the weight of the truth Camille carried. It had started long before that, Thursday morning in St. Louis. Camille was born and raised in Montgomery, Alabama. Her mother, Vanessa Rhodess, had scrubbed hospital floors through graveyard shifts to keep a roof over their heads. Her father, lost to a broken system before she turned 10, had left only lessons behind to stand tall when others tried to make you small, to hold your head up even when the ground tried to pull you down. By 15, Camille had learned survival wasn't about being the loudest. It was about moving with an unshakable purpose. That quiet strength had carried her through college, through the grueling FBI training, and now into the role she held, a senior agent specializing in systemic corruption. Today's hearing wasn't just another task. It was the culmination of a 7-month undercover investigation into a network of misconduct, abuse, and corruption deeply rooted in the St. Louis Police Department, a network that included Sergeant Whitman himself, though he had yet to realize the noose tightening around him. The briefcase lying on the floor, abandoned and scuffed, contained everything: audio recordings, doctored body camera footage, falsified police reports, testimony from whistleblowers too afraid to come forward in public. But it was about to be public now. Dragged into a side detention room, Camille sat stiffly, wrists raw and red, as an apologetic young deputy, no older than 23, set a bottle of water in front of her. He whispered a shaky, "I'm sorry." She didn't look at him. Compassion wasn't what she needed. She needed the system to answer for itself. Outside, word of the arrest buzzed like a wildfire. Reporters sniffed the scent of scandal. Cell phones captured grainy footage of a black woman in handcuffs, a badge tossed carelessly beside her. The judge delayed the docket, and the clerk whispered furiously into a phone. By the time Camille was released, no apology, no acknowledgement. The courthouse atmosphere had shifted dangerously. The clock struck 11:42 a.m. As she stood, fixed her suit, and walked back toward courtroom 4B. Every eye followed her. Every phone, every pen, every mind held its breath. As Camille took the witness stand, the hush deepened into something close to reverence or fear. "My name is Camille Rhodess," she said, voice steady. "I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. For the last 7 months, I have led an undercover investigation into coordinated misconduct and civil rights violations within the St. Louis Police Department. She reached down, lifted her fallen briefcase, and withdrew a small USB drive marked simply with a black dot. I submit into evidence the following files: audio recordings, video footage, and supporting documents demonstrating systemic corruption, including but not limited to racial profiling, fabrication of evidence, and obstruction of justice. The judge, an older man with deep creases of experience etched into his face, leaned forward. Camille clicked a remote, and the projector screen at the front of the courtroom blinked to life. The first recording crackled, filling the room. Whitman's voice, unmistakable, rang out. "Just say he resisted. They'll believe us over him." A collective intake of breath swept through the audience. Camille continued, each piece of evidence stacking higher, heavier. Another recording played. Another. Each one weaving an undeniable narrative of betrayal and abuse by those sworn to protect. In the gallery, the mother of one falsely arrested boy wept silently into her hands. Across the aisle, defense attorneys scribbled furiously. Prosecutors shifted uncomfortably. Even the judge's hands tightened into fists atop his bench. When the prosecutor asked if Camille could identify any of the officers involved in the misconduct, she turned unflinchingly toward Whitman. "Sergeant Derek Whitman," she said. "He is not only implicated in multiple incidents. He assaulted me this morning in this courthouse, without cause, in an attempt to intimidate and discredit me before my testimony." The judge's jaw clenched. A move for federal protection of Agent Rhodes, continued testimony, and a motion for disciplinary action against Sergeant Whitman. The judge nodded immediately. Order crumbled into chaos around Whitman. His attorney whispered urgently in his ear. Whitman's face flushed a deep red as realization sank in the realization that he had just publicly attacked the one person holding the key to exposing his empire of lies. And Camille wasn't finished. The next morning, she returned to the courthouse. Same suit, same heels, same unyielding walk. But this time, the world watched. Outside, news vans crowded the street. Inside, reporters packed the back rows. Camille stepped to the front once more, holding a second USB drive, this one wrapped with red forensic tape. This drive contains 26 minutes of audio recorded by a confidential informant, a police officer working under Sergeant Whitman's direct command, she stated calmly. On the screen appeared the secret recording. Whitman, in a dim parking garage, instructing subordinates to tamper with evidence and intimidate witnesses. The final blow came when the informant's voice, strained but clear, described Whitman's infamous boast. "I'm untouchable. Got the judge, got the chief, got the DA in my pocket." The courtroom seemed to freeze in place, as if the very walls recoiled. "Your Honor," Camille concluded, turning toward the bench with deliberate force, "I request the immediate arrest of Sergeant Derek Whitman for obstruction of justice, conspiracy, and interference in a federal investigation." The judge did not hesitate. "Sergeant Whitman," he said, his voice sharp as the gavel in his hand, "you are hereby ordered into custody." Whitman's protests, his blustering rage, fell into the void. Handcuffs closed around his wrists, and the crowd watched in stunned silence as he was led away. Justice Swift, merciless, had finally found him. But Camille's work wasn't done. Alongside a trusted attorney, Jocelyn Marquez, and a brave young officer named Andre Lewis who had broken ranks to testify, Camille unearthed a far larger network of corruption reaching into neighboring cities. Cases once labeled closed were reopened. Families once dismissed found their voices heard. They uncovered the truth behind the suspicious death of Officer Micah Stone, a rookie who had dared to challenge misconduct and paid with his life. Officially ruled a suicide, Camille's investigation proved otherwise. Tampered evidence, missing files, and whispered threats. The case rocked the nation. Camille stood before congressional panels, addressed law schools, rewrote federal policy for whistleblower protections, and trained a new breed of agents forged in resilience and honor. Promotions followed. Awards she didn't care about. Because Camille had seen the price of truth. In the quiet of her childhood home one evening, Camille sat at the worn kitchen table, her mother brewing tea nearby. An old photo of her father in his army uniform rested between her fingers. "He'd be proud of you," her mother said softly. Camille didn't answer. She just breathed, really breathed for the first time in years. Not because the fight was over, because she knew she would never fight alone again. Justice is not a moment. It is a movement. It is stitched by the hands of those willing to bleed for it, paved by the footsteps of those who refuse to be silent. Camille Rhodess taught the world that a single voice, clear and unyielding, can shake even the mightiest foundations. And those scars remain. They are worn like armor, reminders that righteousness is not for the faint-hearted. It belongs to those who stand, even when the world demands they kneel. It belongs to those who refuse to be silenced. It belongs to the Camille Rhodess of the world and to all those who dare to follow.